Ladies, gentlemen, fellas, listen. We were doing this for months and months. I've been enjoying it. Since the pandemic really started back in March, I've been doing every single month for me. This is for me. But if you enjoy this, I know a lot of people do enjoy this, whether you're business savvy, whether you're just interested, whether you just like my brand and want to see behind the curtain a little bit. This is what my business is. And we just had a record-setting month for now being in business officially, like with the LLC on it and everything, for only, I think at this point, like 8 months. But actually doing this is my full-time job now for somewhere around 14 to 15 months. And this is it. This is as transparent as it gets in terms of what my business finances as a single member LLC with an S Corp. So that's how my business is set up, Vetri Media LLC. And I'm doing this pretty much for me. I didn't do a video last month because, to be honest with you, August is a crazy month. So this is going to be titled probably something for September, so it just reaches more people, or more people are actually interested in looking at it. But this is looking back in September right now as I record this on September 2nd, and looking back into August and what happened in August. Now, from a personal standpoint, I was traveling. I was having people come here, just not seeing my family since Thanksgiving, going home and seeing them for almost a week. Then my girlfriend's parents came here. We visited them. So it's a very difficult month when it comes to travel and just seeing a lot of people, because August is a very popular month when it comes to fantasy football, prepping for the season long and just getting ready for the season to actually start. Thankfully, blessing in disguise, there was no preseason. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult. So all in all, obviously fantastic time getting to see all family members, getting to see my girlfriend's family and some friends as well while I was away. So it was very fun. But again, these are now going to be the look back because we didn't get to do the month of July. We're just going to take a look at August. And I'll break it all down for you and really for myself. So there's a video pinned, at least of the recording of this video, on September 2nd, 2020. A video is pinned on my profile as my main profile. It's pretty much just describing how I make money on YouTube. Now, a lot of people get things wrong and they think, oh, these YouTube's paying them so much money. Honestly, no, that's not the case. Some of your favorite YouTubers that have millions of subscribers are probably making, honestly, it's like probably $20 to $30 to $50,000, which is a lot of money, but they probably have millions and millions of views per video, which doesn't actually equate to being that great. I break down in that video exactly how you get determined what your ad rate is for YouTube. It depends on your demographic. It depends on obviously how much you're going to be uploading to see how much actual total money you get. But in this video, I just want to be taking a look back at what happened last month, explain some things actually in the business to give you context as why some things happen, and explain what's going to be moving forward. Again, these videos are for myself. So if this is not your cup of tea and you're saying, I don't give a shit, Sal, well then, that's fine. You can click off of this video. This is for me to look back on because I've actually already looked back at the ones on the beginning of the pandemic, so it was actually pretty helpful. And I want to be looking back on these in 3 or 4 years from now. Maybe I'm not in the fantasy industry, fantasy sports space. If you're finding me and you don't know what I do in fantasy sports, it's all over my YouTube channel. But maybe I'm not doing that in 4 or 5 years. I want to just see how I actually ran business. My favorite part about what I do is running a business, the marketing side of it, the content creation, of course, but it's not the fantasy aspect. I love fantasy football, and that's what gets me out of bed at 4 in the morning every single day to create content, to research, and all that stuff. But the thing that I love that's buried underneath all of that is just the business savviness, the entrepreneurship, if you would, not to be cliche, marketing, all that type of stuff. So I'm going to be looking back at August 2020 right now. We'll go over the overall revenue and expense breakdown, and I'll go from there. So in terms of revenue, yeah, it was a record-setting month. For just gross revenue, we just hit $20,000. Now we've hit about $19,000 and change towards the end of last year. We actually hit that number in, I believe, February when the XFL was going on before the pandemic started. So I think we would have trended towards hitting this number probably in March or April anyways. It's very good to see that we just hit a record high coming out of a pandemic, and also coming into the NFL season is the big one. The NFL season is the biggest moneymaker for anybody in the sports space and anybody in the fantasy sports space. At least it should be if you know how to operate and run a business. And having this number, a new record high before that season starts, does give me some encouragement, does give me the ability to do a lot more things with the business and honestly delegate a lot more, which is good and something that I got a little bit of a taste test last month. But the subscription services that I have running, we saw pretty nice highs there in terms of gross revenue hitting over $13,000. Partially because of that was the subscription service, one of them that I use, ended up adding an option for people to have an annual membership. It's about time. I've been poking them for annuals, weeklies, all these things. They only had monthly before that, but now people can sign up for monthly or lock in for annual. When you lock in for annual, you do get a benefit. You get 2 months for free. So you're locking in for 12 months, but you're only paying for 10. And I also threw in my draft guide for the 2020 fantasy football season. So that's kind of a cost of about what another month would be. So you're pretty much getting like 12 months for the cost of almost 9 at that point when I throw in the draft guide as well for the entire package. So that was able to probably lock in somewhere in the double digits of people who signed up annually, which means I got all that money up front, which makes this number a little bit higher than it normally is. Obviously, I don't get their reoccurring revenue, but I have it up front now. So if I want to partition that and spread it across multiple months, if I want to just up front now go and get more equipment to help the site, to help the studio, if I want to go and get more help as the NFL prep is going through contractors, I have more allocation, more capital, more free cash to do that. Going down now out to sponsors and affiliates, these numbers are going to be very impressive, I would say, moving forward into the NFL year. Got some deals in the work with some companies that I'm really excited about. Obviously, outside of the ones that I already are doing on this channel, you probably already see them. I think, look, see above me, I have top 25 running back rankings linked below. I didn't take that one off. I just didn't want to make a new banner for these types of videos. But Monkey Knife Fight's one of the sponsors slash affiliates that I use. So the sponsors, that number might actually be low. I'm still waiting to get my final numbers on it, but that's the lowest that the sponsor could go. We have a deal for 6 months that it can't go below $2,000, even if I don't actually bring them anybody, which is never the case. But it's for me as a creator and me as a business person to say, look, if I'm putting your logo on things, if I'm sponsoring you and people just aren't coming over because your site might not be the greatest or it's a pandemic, right? I want to make sure that I have insurance of doing all this work. I'm getting paid something for it. So that's kind of what we locked in that deal. And then the affiliate deal, that one's going to be pretty big next month. That number of $2,900 was reflective of what happened in July. What just happened in August was close to 5 figures and $10,000 in affiliate sales because the NBA came back, golf is still doing its thing, and the NFL is getting closer. So a lot more views are coming onto my channel. So a lot more affiliate deals. I'm excited about some of those. I'm excited about some future ones that I'm not going to talk about specifics of companies or deals, but some things in the works that before the NFL season, hope we can lock up. Now, normally before the NFL season, people always reach out. This year is much different since my channel's at 25,000 subscribers compared to when it was at 4,000 or 5,000 last year. I was getting probably 1 to 2 offers a week last year. Some of them didn't seem great. Now I'm getting probably 1 offer a day, which is good. It's a lot of opportunities, but it also leads me to try and think about more so of the long term, building long-lasting relationships. Look, the number one thing in business and probably even in life, honestly it is relationships, whether they're good or bad. And hopefully you have no bad relationships in life and you can amend those bridges. But yeah, relationships and informing them and having some sort of long-term, I would say, motivation to be partnering with these companies. Obviously the short term is, I just made $10,000 in a month sponsoring this company that I do enjoy, got them some affiliate signups, brought them 400 people, 300 people, whatever it is, right? And I just helped their site boost up. And if their site's good and I know that, I would like to have some sort of long-term incentive, whether it is owning stock in the company at some point, whether it is having a long-term deal set up with them, not just for a 1 or 2 or 3 months, but a year, something along those lines, so I could feel secure. And the other piece of it is just business savviness and strategy. I want to be attached to these things that I can see them going before they pop off. My following is actually probably a reason why a lot of these smaller brands are going to pop off a little bit more, or at least have the chance to. So I might as well take advantage of that long term a little bit more, and also just set myself up properly for making long-term income, passive income, if you will, in a sense, even though nothing's truly passive in my opinion. So that's the idea of that. YouTube ads are going to continue to go up. I would assume this number right now for next month, it's already projecting to be over $1,000. It's just based on how much viewership I get. My demographic, so my CTA, my cost pretty much per 1,000 views is going to be somewhere between $8 to $12. So averages of around 10, which is very good. A lot of YouTubers are like $1, and that's not great. Then you can't make any money. But YouTube during the NFL season with the views going up, I would assume that number is going to be around $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Contracting work, you could just see I did some things contracting. The website, so the website's going to be a little bit nuanced here. This is just gross revenue through the website for the draft guide, costing $30 per draft guide. Some of them I gave away for $15, half off for some promotions. It came in a little over $1,300, but the site made a lot more than $1,300, and that will be reflected next month in some of the affiliate revenue and sponsor revenue, because I'm pretty much trying to push the draft guide through affiliates, because I'll be getting paid 3 to 4 times as much if they sign up through affiliates, and the people who are actually signing up are signing up for a fraction of the cost. If a sponsor is only charging $10 for minimum deposit and I'm throwing in the draft guide instead of somebody buying it for $30 on my site, that's good for the consumer, that's good for the sponsor because they're getting signups, and that's good for me because I'm getting 3 times the pay through an affiliate referral. So that number is always going to scheme lower. I actually never thought that number would hit over $1,000 in a month, and I think that it probably will for September as well, just based on what we're trending with a week or so before the NFL season starts, and that's still being a hot item. And then courses, I mean, if somebody just keeps buying a course, I'm going to continue to host it, right? So I haven't even pushed the courses. I plan to use my NFL course as just the exact same thing I'm using my draft guide right now for. My NFL course is over 10 hours for fantasy football, daily fantasy sports related. It's over 10 hours of videos. It's a bunch of written stuff. I spent the entire summer, like 3 months of the summer last year, cultivating that. And this year, I'm just going to give it away as a bonus if you sign up through some of the affiliates during the NFL season. So somebody actually bought that course. It actually cost me $39 a month to host the course. Somebody bought it and it cost them almost $37. So I lost $2 on hosting the course last month, but on the entire year, we're up on it. And this next few months during the NFL season is when I expect it to become very, very valuable as a nice digital product, and a very strong digital product being over 10 plus hours. So all that breaks down to over $20,000 in revenue. My costs are as they usually are: email marketing, other subscriptions, electric, Wi-Fi equipment, all this stuff, right? Course hosting, my subscription site fees and site fees. That's just the processing, like Stripe, payment processing on some of those sites, some of the platform fees to actually host on those sites. That was about $1,000. Contracting work, this is a spot that I do want to touch on. I'm trying to delegate more and learn how to delegate, not through employees, at least not yet. That's probably a very long-term thing, if anything, but through contractors. So I had somebody who reached out from actually Penn State, helped me put together some of the player profiles on my website. So he did, I think, 16 or 15 tight end profiles, somewhere around there. Something that would have probably taken me, I don't know, somewhere around 8 to 10 hours in the week, and I just didn't want to do it. I was putting it off, and I said, you know what? This kid reached out a week ago. I'm going to see if he wants to do it. It's not the most, I would say, enjoyable work, although researching for football players for me is enjoyable. I don't know if it is for most people. And spending 8 to 10 hours kind of putting together these little profiles of what happened to their team this offseason, what were their stats last year, what's the outlook, yada, 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 those types of things. If you have the draft guide, you know what I'm talking about. And then I had somebody else who was actually my neighbor when I was back in high school help me with some video editing stuff. So just trying to learn the delegation, really learning to be totally hands off, just kind of every couple of days being like, hey, how's it going? Everything good? Good. Okay. And then a couple of days later, okay, the project's done. Perfect. You get paid, right? Just keeping it simple, making sure everything's getting done properly, but letting people just do their own thing, right? The idea of being just micromanaged is the worst possible thing you can do to your employees or your contractors. And then that's pretty much it. CPA costs is just I have to pay 4 times a year for quarterly estimates. It's pretty much the same as if I did it myself, maybe a little bit more than if I did it myself. But again, I'm not doing it, so that's why you pay probably an extra like $20 a month. So that ends up giving us a total income of $20,435 for the month. Now, that's in my business account. I could take all that if I really want to, but of course, there's going to be expenses. So when you add up the expenses, it comes out to $18,762 net income before taxes, right? So this is my earnings before interest and tax, EBIT, your EBIT, if you will, if you're one of the accountant people out there. But pretty much now what that gives me is $18,762. I put automatically $1,000 a month away for retirement through my SEP, my self-employment pension. So again, that's not going to be the max that I do. I'm going to max out my retirement based on what I do with my account at the end of the year. I'll put away $1,000 a month. And then at the end of the year, based on what the numbers are, I could say, okay, let's put a lump sum of $5,000 or $10,000 more dollars in there, right? I will always want to, at my age of right now 24, starting at 23, invest, and hope to have a ton of money just in there from retirement and hope that the income obviously continues to increase. Obviously, you get good interest rates on your retirement and have different types of investments, looking into some real estate things right now, actually buying some houses with a friend from college, my former roommate from college for the final 3 years there, one of my roommates, trying to figure out some things there, and also one of my other friends as well. So a lot of exciting things on that side of it, but that's just some other things that I want to do. And this it allows me to be able to do that and have the flexibility. Now, of course, there's taxes on this. So every single time I'll take out a pretty standard like 22% tax rate. Obviously, I'm set up as a self-employment pension, so I'm going to get, it's a tax shelter, right? Yes, of course, having an LLC is great for liability purposes, and I would encourage many people who are sole proprietors to do it. It takes really no time at all from you, and it takes like $400 if you just set somebody else up to do it for you, an accountant that you trust. And you can find some online. If you have any questions on that, just leave them in the comments. And I can tell you where people are good accountants pretty much, just through a vetting process that some sites do. So yeah, obviously I put away like 20 or 22% of that. Last year, I think I put away like 23% and I overshot it a little bit. So this year I'm putting away 22%. And I do believe that I'll have a good amount of expenses to lower my overall taxable income at the end of the year. So these are the numbers, right? These are the numbers, ending up having around $18,000 before taxes, whatever that is. If I put 20% of that away, we're getting around like, I don't know, $3,000 or so. We're going to start to put towards the tax account. So I get to take home in net somewhere around like $14,000 this month. I don't really spend much. I get my groceries. I get a couple haircuts a month. And then I pay my rent, right? I don't really spend much after that in my personal life. So I only really need like $2,000 a month, if that, sometimes only $1,500 a month. And the rest, I'm just looking to invest and save up and have an emergency fund and potentially buy a house to rent it out, the BRRRR process, if you will, buy, repair. I have the book right here somewhere. Buy, repair, rent, refurbish, resell, whatever the whole cycle is for that. It's a real estate type of mindset. But that's that. What happened last month was the draft guide officially did launch 2 months ago. Last month was the first full month of it. So it did very well. We ended up having, I believe, around like 50 or so people sign up through the affiliate, which was a lot of money to get through the affiliate link that we get there for $100 per sign up. And then you can see right here, the cost just going straight through the site because people didn't sign up through the affiliate. They didn't see it, or they weren't eligible because they weren't in the state where they could actually deposit on that site. Well, we made an extra $1,300. So the draft guide itself probably made in August, I would say somewhere around like $7,000. And I'm hoping in September, it made some money as well in July when it launched. And I'm hoping in September it can make some as well. And then the ROI so far in that draft guide, it cost me, I think I did the math the other day, like $1,600 total so far. That's with getting some of the contract work last month and really last week for doing some of those tight end profiles, which was like $200. That's with somebody helping me set up the site, which was like $1,000. That's with buying like the membership press and WordPress and all that stuff and hosting for 3 years. So $1,600 we ended up paying for it. And it's already netted somewhere around like almost $10,000. And it's going to go over that by the time everything's over. So I'm assuming that it's going to be a very good ROI. It's going to be worth the time and effort. And next year it's going to be even better, in my opinion, just with having a lot more time. I mean, we started it this year in like April, so we had a lot of time, but now having like the whole off season to really prep some things out and plan some things out out as well. And just recapping more on last month before we look ahead, I mentioned that also starting to delegate. Yes, they were very two small assignments, but I do want to learn to delegate more. I can never delegate myself really off the camera, but I do want to try and add either another personality, and that's where an idea of having another channel comes in, of building up these personalities, whether it's in the fantasy sports space, whether it's in a totally different space. Like, I don't know, as long as they gel together with a similar demographic of people who are going to be tuning in. Like right now, fantasy sports is males. 99% of them are males that are tuning into my channel based on the YouTube analytics and podcast stuff. And the far majority of them, like 80%, are between 25 and 55. So something that fits those demographics. I have to put more thought into it. But that's something that I do want to do. It allows me to kind of be more so of a mentor, have a hands-off approach. I mean, I would assume that I would generate income through sponsoring my own products on them, having sponsors on them, and taking some of the revenue as being the person who owns the channel, and then paying out some of the people who are doing their shows on there. And they're also getting exposure as well once the channel would grow. That's just an idea that I have to try and take myself out of it a little bit more. It's a very hands-on business that I'm in right now. Obviously, it's a personal brand. So anything that I can do behind the screens, like try and outsource some of the research time that I don't have to be doing this NFL season, because I probably researched last year like 20 hours a week. Okay, that's fine. But if I could research just 5 to 10 hours a week, and the other 10 hours a week somebody else is doing it for me, I pay them, and then I just review all their research and just trust that they know what they're doing. That takes a lot of weight off of my shoulders. Literally 10 hours a week can go a long way just in my personal life alone, let alone just the business as well. And then I could do the same exact things for video editing, which I did last month. So I'm just trying to learn the process of that. I definitely plan to use it. I already plan to. I have some things budgeted in and some people I've contacted to help delegate with, adding some potential shows with other personalities on this channel, with my name being Sal Vetri as the brand. It's a little bit odd. So again, that would be where another channel comes in, but I have to think more on that. And really just establishing my personal brand a little bit more. My personal brand is not just fantasy sports. That's why, hence these videos, right? I like business. I like marketing. I want to get my personal brand out there more, whether it is through actual real life vlogs of me walking around, things like that. But the branding is the biggest piece of this, especially in the fantasy sports space. Every single company that's putting their products behind a paywall right now, their content, I should say, behind a paywall, in my opinion, is just doing it wrong. Now, it depends on where you are. Like if you're 50 years old or 45 years old and you have a huge following and you can make a very quick 6 figures or a couple of $100,000s and you can bank most of that and you have a good retirement setup, then that's fine. Your expectations are that this is going to last for like 5 years, maybe 10 years, and we're good to go. But most companies that are going to put all their content behind a paywall, how are you reaching people? You're banking on the backs of the people that you hired and their Twitter followings, right? That's what you're banking on. Well, what happens when the people that you hired Twitter followers don't grow because all their content's behind a paywall, right? Ding, ding, ding. Like right off the bat, it's going to be fine, right? You'll make a lot of money the first year, first 2, first 3. But then what happens when all the companies that are continuing, or people like myself and independent creators and people who aren't tied to a business or have to do the schedule of what the business and the crappy content that push out this article on a Monday because it'll get a couple of clicks, even though it's a piece of shit, right? Things like that I'm sure a lot of companies are doing. What happens when people like myself grow from 25,000 subscribers to 80, 100,000 subscribers, and all of my content's out there for free, and my brand grows bigger, and my now Twitter following is way bigger than yours, and people start coming over to my products or the people that I know's products that are doing similar things. Yeah, that's when those companies go under. And again, it's not an immediate thing of going under. It's 5 to 10 years from now going under. But it's all about the expectations. The people that are working for companies like that, I would urge you that, yeah, I mean, obviously build up as much as you can, but you're not even getting you're just getting paid at that point. You're not even getting the clout, I would say, of like if you're working for a company that, say ESPN, you're obviously going on ESPN and they're seeing you and they're following you on Twitter, and that's where you can gain a clout. If you work for a company that's behind a paywall, nobody's seeing your content. Literally nobody is, except for the people buying in, and that's like not even 1%. It's so marginalized compared to the people that can see it on YouTube, a podcast version. So at the very least, I would say have your own thing as well, like have your own podcast or something and work out a deal there so you can actually gain exposure. Otherwise, you're staying standpoint, right? If your career arc was going like this after you were making your own content or having content for a company in front of a paywall, the second it went all behind a paywall, your career arc goes like this. You're making some money, right? You're making some money, but you're not going anywhere. And then once you get fired or they start to go under, your career arc goes like this until you can kind of reestablish it. So it's scary. I would urge all creators to create their own content. But yeah, on establishing a brand, I want to do more live streams. I got 3 so far a week scheduled for the NFL season. Ideally, I would do more and try and work those in, because live streams, I get to talk to the audience way more. It's way more interactive. I get to talk about more things than just sports. People ask me other questions, and then I can go off on a tangent on that, right? It allows my personality to show more than just coming in for a video for 20 minutes and just talking to the camera, which I try and be as informative as possible. Create the best possible content, but again, at the end of the day, it's not as, I would say, conversational as a live stream, of course, which obviously is going to immediate questions being answered, immediate other parts of my personality and my interests being shared with other people and kind of communicating between that. It establishes more of a personal connection. It establishes more of a brand for myself. And also, I just get to be myself more on live streams. Like when I'm talking to other people, obviously, the New Yorker and Italian side of me comes out more, whether it's the accent or whether it's just me cursing more, because in my everyday life, yes, I do curse. And if any of my friends are watching this, and I'm not sure if any of my family or friends are, depending on where I post this, LinkedIn, if it's just a YouTube channel and people actually subscribe, I don't really know. Well, then yeah, that they definitely know that part of me. But yeah, I would say that that's some of the biggest things. They shared the idea of building a YouTube channel. I have some things just written over here. We kind of broke down everything. I can talk about the outlook real quick and then bounce on out of here. The outlook is that the NFL season is here and that there's going to be a lot of, I would say, opportunity in the content. There's a lot of opportunity from hopefully my channel to go from like 25,000. It went from 5,000 to 20,000 last year. I would love it for it to go from 25,000 to like 35, 40,000 this year by the end of the year, maybe by January or by the Super Bowl. If by the Super Bowl, I'm hoping it's around like 35, 40,000. That'll be very good. That's a nice base, and that's a very good, healthy growth number to just fund every single other opportunity that we have from revenue streams. And then the nice thing about the NFL season is that I've already budgeted out like at the worst case scenario. If my expenses increase, and this is what you should do if you own a business. If your expenses increase or are higher than you think, and your revenue is lower than you think it will be. I've undershot my revenue for the next couple of months to end the year during the NFL season by, I would say, a couple $1,000s, and I've overshot my expenses by probably like $500 a month, and everything looks good. That first video I projected to make $200,000 this year, and if everything goes wrong these next couple of months, pretty much what those projections are saying, then we should still probably hit it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. Opportunity always comes out of nowhere. Like if I get a phone call from somebody that's on ESPN or something like that out of the blue, and we start talking, and it comes up with a business opportunity, or I get an opportunity from a sponsor that I really like, there's another opportunity to potentially create revenue, develop relationships, all that type of stuff. So that's the nice thing about just this industry in general. It's very easy for people to reach out to me, and just being a creator in general, people are going to reach out because they want to advertise. But obviously you got to find the proper ones that you actually believe in the product, you've tested the product, you believe in the people, and you believe in the offer. So there's always exciting things to come out. So it's never possible to properly estimate what's going to happen in this type of a business. And it's definitely not during the NFL season, where my channel can go from 25,000 to 35,000 in a month, 10,000 subscribers, and bam, the revenue shoots up everywhere because there's just more eyes overall on every single thing that I have going on. The other thing that I'm focusing on is scheduling. I have a schedule of content kind of up right now. I have appearances and other people that want me to come on shows and podcasts that I do want to do them. I enjoy, one, just interacting with people in the community. It helps my exposure. It is also revenue, which at that point becomes like the least appealing part of it. It's just mainly to kind of collaborate with others. But I also want to strongly focus on not burning out and overworking and overscheduling some things, because last year, the NFL season, that's exactly what I did. Sunday, once the NFL games were over, let's just say like 8 o'clock, I would stay up until 3 a.m. making sure I knew every single thing about every single one of those games. I would wake up at 6 a.m. and do some of my content. I would then do the Pat Mayo Experience show at 1. I would then do an Awesemo show at like 4. And then I would start prepping for Tuesday, right? And it would just be a process of me working like 110 hours. And at my age, I guess it's definitely not healthy for anybody. At my age, it was at least doable. Not having kids and anything like that, and not having any other job obligations, but definitely not trying to be doing that this year. Definitely want to delegate more. Definitely going to tighten up my schedule in terms of appearances that I make, in terms of the content that I put out each week, the efficiency in which I do it. More live streams means less editing, means less upload time, those types of things. So yeah, I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you watch this entire video, props to you. Let me know in the comments what you think of these types of videos. I don't really care if people hate on them. I don't really care if people don't like them, because I honestly just don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm doing this for me personally, as I've stated in all these videos so far. This is for me to look back on one day. It's sort of a video archives that I can look back on and say, what was I doing in August of 2020 business-wise, right? Like 10 years from now, if I'm in the real estate business, if I'm in a totally different business and not doing fantasy sports, even if it's 5 years from now, right? Or I am doing fantasy sports on the side, but I have it kind of delegated out and pretty much outsourced to the point where it's not as hands-on for me anymore. What was I doing in those months, right? What was the process before I was able to build it up to 100,000 subscribers, right? All that type of stuff from a business standpoint. So I just kind of want to document that. I think these are fun. They're quick. They take me like 20 minutes to make, and I just go off the cuff. I don't really have to prep anything like I do for all my other videos. So I appreciate it. Thank you all so much. If you enjoy this content and you enjoy my content and you haven't subscribed yet, might as well hit the subscribe button. We're about to hit 25,000 subscribers. You all rock. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Hopefully this was informative and helped at least one person. If not, well, it helps me later on in my future. So that's all I care about. All right, gang. Peace out, everybody.